All right, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Um, Thank you for watching the videos and like, subscribe, share, and then hit the notifications tab so you can get notifications when I put out these new videos. Today, what I was going to talk about is how I went from what most people would say is, from the outside looking in, what they would say is a normal life to going directly to the streets. It wasn't a gradual thing. It pretty much happened within a within a day or two. Everything changed. The way I dressed, the way I talked, my whole attitude. It was instantly I became violent within a day or two. Growing up in the South Bay, we, especially right there in the area we were at, Lawndale, Redondo area, all the kids, we all knew each other, from school. A lot of us played Little League and Pop Warner. So we played sports against each other. During the summer times, we would either be at the Torrance Plunge, which was the public pool by the courthouse, across the street from the Del Alma Mall, or we'd be at Redondo Beach Pier. And the kids from these cities, we all did the same things. We all went to the same places during the summertime. Or we'd be at like the Seaside Lagoon in Redondo Beach, which is still there. And so we all, like I said, we all knew each other. And then there was the um, the paper routes. A lot of us worked for the Daily Breeze. Whether you lived in Redondo or you lived in Lawndale or you lived in Gardena, Torrance, that whole area, the Daily Breeze was the newspaper for that area. So a lot of us, we worked for the Daily Breeze. I started working for the Daily Breeze at 11 and then started doing a paper route. And I had a paper route there right by my house. But just say, for instance, for the paper routes, we would go out like once a month with the person that was in charge of our area, which was this lady named Fran. At one time, it was a lady named Fran. She lived on 166, right next to the 405 bridge, almost by Prairie. And that's where we all met up. All the kids from the neighborhood that had paper routes. There was probably 8 of us. We all met there after school on our bikes, got our papers, folded them, put them in our bags, did our routes, went home. Eventually, my mom took that over. My house is where everybody met at. So, but once a month we would go out and we get these things called starts. So we go in our area, like my mom had this certain area with this certain amount of kids. So one day we'd go to, like, say, my area. I knew all the houses that didn't get the newspaper. So we go, it would be like an evening time, early evening, 6 o'clock in the evening. We go to all the houses in my area. We'd all split up, knock on doors, and try to get the people to start the newspaper. If they started the newspaper, that was one start. We had a card with their name and information. We got that card. Once you got 10 starts, that would be enough to get a ticket to, let's say, Knott's Berry Farm, Magic Mountain. So like maybe once every other month, they would plan a trip for the kids. If you had enough starts, they gave you a ticket, plus they give you a little bit of cash for you to buy something to eat, play some games or whatever. So you go to, like I said, Knott's Berry Farm, Magic Mountain, Disneyland, the movies, ice skating ring, um, just different places. You can also get, if you got enough starts, I think it was probably like 50 starts, you want to buy a bike, which was a Schwinn Beach Cruiser, brand new. I won one time, and the day I got it, somebody stole it. But we all knew each other because of that. Because, like, say for instance, we went to the movies. The kids from Gardena, the kids from Torrance, the kids from Redondo, they all went at the same time we did. So we'd see each other at the movie theater. We'd see each other at Knott's Berry Farm or Magic Mountain. We see each other at the ice skating rink. So we all knew each other. We were all friends with one another. And again, we'd also be playing little league against each other, play baseball, or we played Pop Warner. We played Pop Warner against these other cities. So again, we all knew each other from that too. So there was a lot of us. There was a lot of friends. Once my mom and dad separated when I was 13 for the final time, and I moved to my aunt's house with my cousin, it was within a couple of days that got jumped into the neighborhood. I was hanging out with my cousin and his homeboys, but his homeboys were guys that I already knew. I went to school with them, or I played baseball with them, so I already knew them. They already knew me. So I was hanging out with them one day, a couple of days after I moved into my aunt's house. We're at the park. They asked me if I wanted to get into the neighborhood. Now this neighborhood was the enemies of my dad's neighborhood, so me and my dad weren't on talking terms at the time. So I said, yeah, fuck it. I knew that it would piss my dad off. Didn't realize it would piss most of my family off too. Wasn't looking to piss the family off. There's a family off from his neighborhood also. But I knew it would piss my dad off. So I was like, fuck it. So I got into the neighborhood. And within a day or so, already went out with the homeboys and jumped some guys. And that's when the violence started. So I went from being a normal kid, playing, because at the time I lived in Long Beach. We had moved to Long Beach. We were there for about a year. That's when my mother and father separated when we were in Long Beach. But again, I was still living the normal life when we were in Long Beach. I had friends that lived on my block. We played football on the street. I had my neighbors were Filipino. I hang out at their house and we played football on the street, or I'd go seek and shit around the neighborhood, ride bikes around, go to Kid Park right there in Long Beach, and there was the YMCA. No, the Boys Club was right there. The Boys Club was at Kid Park. We go over there, play pool, play basketball, play caroms, live like a normal life of a kid. Um, from the outside looking in, nobody really knew, my home life. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I moved back. Once my mom and dad got divorced, I moved back right there to where I came from before I went to Long Beach. I got into the neighborhood with my cousin, and right away, it just got into violence. Everything changed. I started dressing like my cousin. He wore khakis and flannels, and so I started wearing some of his stuff until my mom bought me clothes, and she would buy me flannels and khakis and Levi's. Was no longer wearing just regular clothes like a regular kid. I didn't look like a regular kid no more. I didn't have a part in my hair no more. Um, I started combing my hair back, started wearing hairnets. Everything changed. Within that first week, everything had changed. I just became a whole different person. I know my family noticed it because I was like a normal kid. Now here I am, wearing hairnets and panels or flannels and dickies and shit, all creased up. Then the violence, and about the other kids, a week before, some of them kids were my friends. Some of them ended up getting into other neighborhoods. Once that happened, they were no longer my friends. That's the way that I seen it. I took the shit serious. I took the whole neighborhood thing serious. And I remember just one incident. It's already been a couple years had passed. I was 15 years old. And my brother brought it up to me the other day. He said, you should tell a story about the time that you got them guys on the block. A couple years had passed. I was already 15 years old now, and there was this kid that I used to go to school with when I was younger, and we were really good friends. I mean, we were the kind of friend we walked home together. Sometimes if we had a little bit of money, I'd stop at the liquor store, buy a bag of chips and a soda. We'd share it on the way home, or buy one of them big ass pickles that were in the jar on the counter and split it in half and buy a soda. You know, we were really good friends. Walked home together almost every day. Sometimes hung around at school together, but most of the time we walked home together because he lived not too far from me. And but you know, he ended up becoming from a different neighborhood. And his neighborhood and my neighborhood didn't get along with each other. Like I said, I took it serious. Some of my other homeboys that went to school with us, with me and him, they still saw him as like, oh, you know, yeah, he's from the enemy's neighborhood, but we grew up with him. He's, you know, he's cool. You know, fuck his homeboys, but he's all right, you know, because we grew up with him, and I didn't see it that way. One day, I'm hanging out on my street with about 7 other guys right in front of my house, and we're out there drinking. And what we used to do is I used to have one of my homeboys go to the corner because I lived about 5 blocks away from the corner. I mean, 5 houses away from the corner. On the opposite side of the street at the corner, there was a big bush that lined their whole property, probably like 8, 9 feet tall. So what I would do is I would have one of my homeboys go over there at the corner, sit on the side of the bushes where we could see him. He'd be sitting on their grass. Gave him a few beers, and he was sitting on a cinder block. We could see him across the street over there. Just in case anybody came down that street, he was already over there. So that's what we were doing. He was sitting over there on the cinder block, drinking beer by himself. The rest of us over in front of my place. A lot of shit had been happening at that time. That's the reason why we're doing that, because some guys that came by shot the house one day. Another day they came by throwing cocktails, Molotov cocktails at the house, but they hit my house. They hit my neighbor's house, which coincidentally was where my cousin lived at with his girlfriend and her dad, and he was from their neighborhood. These fucking guys threw a cocktail and started the front of the house on fire. I saw them do it. I was out in the front yard, but they didn't see me. I was sitting between two cars watching the street, and they came up, threw their cocktails, and I stood up and I started laughing because that was my cousin's house. That's their homeboy. I'm like, damn, they set the house on fire. Father-in-law came out, spraying down the front of the house with a water hose. You know, so incidents were happening constantly on my street because I lived there in the back house. That's the same location where I had told the story where I killed the neighbor's dog. It was that house. It was that where I lived right there. I was in the back house. My uncle was in the front house. Another person that was from their neighborhood. Next door, not next door, the next house was where the dog lived at. The house next to that is where my cousin lived at. That's the house they threw the cocktail at. And he was from their neighborhood. Next to him was my homeboys. Two of my homeboys lived right there next to him. So there's always shit going on. So like I said, all this shit was going on, so we were hanging out there just in case, you know, they came back. We were out there. And while we're sitting there talking, I see two guys come down my street, make a left onto the street on bikes. And I see him, and then I see that my homeboy stood up. They didn't see him because he's behind the bushes. So, but I see him stand up when they came around the corner, and he had the cinder block in his hand. And I noticed the first one right away. I knew who he was. He was somebody that we just all couldn't stand. Fucking hated him. He was a big mouth, talked a lot of shit, but he could run pretty fucking fast. We could never catch him. If he was on a bike, he would be able to get away, but he was always talking shit, but nobody could catch him. And I'll say his name. His name was Mikey. I won't tell you where he's from, but his name was Mikey, and he was a fucking big mouth. And I used to just hope that I would catch that guy one day, you know. So here he comes down my street. And he has another guy with him, and he sees us. And as soon as he sees us, he tells the other guy, like, "Fuck!" They make a U-turn. They let's get out of here. We come onto the street, started running toward them. Well, again, he's fast. He gets away. He gets around the corner, makes a right. He's gone. The other guy, he was a little chubby. That was the guy that was my friend. He's a little chubby. He couldn't turn his bike back around fast enough. He had to get off the bike and turn it, try to jump back on. By the time he got back on the bike at the corner, my homeboy had threw the cinder block and it hit his back tire and bent the tire. So he couldn't even ride the bike. So he takes off trying to run, but again, he was a little chubby dude. He couldn't get nowhere. He goes right around the corner. As soon as he gets right around the corner, my homeboy out of the corner snatches him up. We all get around the corner, and they got him. Two guys. One guy has this arm, one guy has this arm. They have him against a car. When we get right there, one of my other homeboys tells me, "Hey, it's fucking so-and-so, man." And I was like, "So what?" And he's like, let him go. He's cool, man. You know what I mean? Mikey's the one that we want to get anyway. He's cool. He's a homie. You know what I mean? I say, he's not my homie. He's like, you know what I mean? You know, he's good with us, man. You know. And I was like, nah, he's not good with me. So I told one of my homies, go get that fucking cinder block. So he goes on the corner, grabs it. It wasn't broken. He grabs it, brings it over there, and I take it from him. And they have him against the car like that. And he's telling me like, "Hey Mike, what's up, man? You know, thought we were cool, you know." So we're not cool. Once you got into that neighborhood, that's when things change. We're not cool no more. You're my enemy now. You know that. He's like, I ain't got no beef with you or your neighborhood, you know. I said, but your neighborhood does, so that's all that matters. And he's like, he's asking me, like, hey, just let me go, you know. I won't come back over here no more. Now his homeboy's down the street a little bit. He's riding his bike in the street in circles. And he's yelling, hey, let him go. And I tell him, hey, come over here and get him. Come over and get him. I'll let him go because I don't want him. I want you. You're a fucking big mouth, and I want you. So you can come over here and you get him. I'll let him go, but you're gonna take his place. He's like, now fuck you. So okay then, you're not gonna come over here? He's like, no. I said, okay. I said, hold him tight. So I held him tight. I got the block and I picked it up and I hit him right on top of his head with it. When I hit him, it's like he collapsed, but they held him up. And that's when I seen the blood coming down his face. The cinder block still wasn't broken. So I was like, pick him up. And they hold him up. I said, and he's like yelling, let my homeboy go, what the fuck? Come over and get him. He's like, I'm not going over there. It's all right. Picked up, hit him again. He collapsed, but this time the block broke in half. So I'm telling him, pick him up. Now his face is just covered in blood because they just split the whole top of his shit open. Blood's just pouring down his face, on his clothes, everything. And it's leaking and it's splashing. I'm standing close to him, so it's splashing onto my shoes. So the cinder block broke and I dropped both pieces on the ground. And I can tell that my homeboys, all of them that were right there weren't with that shit. You know, I could tell that they were like, fuck, like, you know, because the thing is, for some guys, they can go and pull a gun and do a drive-by shooting, do all that kind of shit because they don't see the outcome. They don't see the outcome of what they do. They don't see the blood and the crying and, you know, people get shot. They start praying and shit, you know. They don't want to die. They're scared, you know. They don't see all that. They shoot at somebody and they take off. They don't see the outcome. But for me, it was different. I was more the hands-on type person. I could take it, and I think that had to do a lot with not just the way that I grew up, by the way I was raised, but also some of the things that I used to watch when I was younger. You know, there was these videos called Faces of Death that we used to watch. You can get them now still if you look them up on the internet. But it was like real life shit. It was real life shit where they were real life murders happening. Just if you never heard of it, look it up. Faces of Death. There's a certain value, like 1 through 4, 1 through 5, some shit like that. But I should be able to sit down and watch that shit. You know, real life assassinations, real life suicides. There was one where they fucking got a monkey and clamped his head in a vice, and these people sat there with a hammer and beat it over the head, cut his skull open, and they all ate part of the brains. It was like and they were white people. It wasn't like Africans. These were white people. It was like a delicacy in Morocco or wherever they were at. So and the monkey was alive. They put the head in the vice and they hit it over the head with these mini. Everybody had to do it. You know, so I could watch these kind of things. And at a younger age, I started reading books like on serial killers and shit like that. And that's because of the Richard Ramirez thing. Because I never heard that term before until Richard Ramirez. And I remember how people were so afraid of this fucking guy. How you had to lock your fucking doors because before that you could sleep with your windows open. My grandmother used to leave the back door open at the house. I mean, unlocked, just in case somebody needed a place to stay. One of the family members can come. Back door was always unlocked. You can come right in. And shit, I'd be sleeping in the fucking front room on the couch. Back door would stay unlocked just in case the family member needed a place to stay. But it was okay until that Richard Ramirez shit happened. That's when I heard the term serial killer and I started reading more about it and learning about it. You know what I mean? And I see these videos. And again, like I told you, when I was a kid, 11 years old, 9 years old, I was already fucking killing animals. You know what I mean? Killing cats, killing dogs. So doing that to him was not a problem for me. The blood was not a problem for me. Him begging and crying was not a problem to me. It just angered me even more. And I could see in these guys' faces that they were hoping that would stop. But they're not going to tell me nothing because they knew that I was just a violent person, that I would get on them if they try to stop me from doing what I was doing. So anyways, he's fucking leaking everywhere. The cinder block broke. The other guys up down the street still yelling. And I grabbed his bike. I grabbed the bike and I picked it up. And I told the guy again, "You gonna come down here and get him?" He's like, "No." I said, "Okay." So I picked up the bike where the sprocket's at, where the pedals are at. I had each end of the bike like this. The pedals and the sprocket, the chain is right here. And I grab it and I hit him again in the head with it and just dig that shit into his head. And still, he's already leaking. I can't tell where he's cut or where he's not because I'm hitting him on top of his head. So he's still just fucking leaking everywhere. And he fucking crumbles again. I said, "Pick him up again. Pick him up." Because I was going to kill the guy right there. That was my intention, was to kill the guy right there. That's how stupid that I was. That I'm not going to say because I was going to kill him. I was stupid because I have all these guys right here. There's like 6 of them. There's another guy down the street. We're all the same age. 15, 16, 17. There's no doubt that if I would have killed this guy, they would have fucking ratted me out. I learned that lesson a few months later. But that's just the way I was. I wasn't thinking, I didn't give a shit. And this guy was my friend. That's the other thing. He was my friend. He was a good friend. And finally, one of my homeboys that was really close with us, me and him, he grabs me. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's a fucking friend of ours. "What are you doing, man? Like, why are you doing him like that for?" That's it. And I was like, "What? He's your friend. He's not your enemy no more." He would do the same thing to you if it was him and his homeboys. If they caught you, he would do the same thing to you. They would fucking kill you. Do you expect me to give him a pass because we went to school with him? He's no longer our friend. He's like, he's it's not like that, man. You know what I mean? It's like, you're doing way too much. If you wanted to fuck him up, it's one thing, but you're doing way too much, man. Just let him go. Just let him go. That's it, man. So I said, fuck it. I already seen that it wasn't in him. I already seen the look on all their faces. So I said, drag his ass down there. Drag him down there. So two of them are dragging him by his arms. His feet are just, he's out of it. They're just dragging him down the street toward his homeboy. They leave him in the middle of the street. And his homeboy's still doing circles in the street, waiting for us to leave. But he's still talking shit. See, that's the thing about that guy, Mikey. He was always talking shit. He was down there talking shit, disrespecting my neighborhood. Fuck, you guys are cowards and all this and that. He's just talking shit because he's on a bike. He's a couple blocks, a couple blocks down, just talking shit. Well, I realized that he was right in front of one of his homeboys' house. His homeboy lived on that street. But he's over there talking shit, and so I start to walk over. I said, "Come on, Joe, let's go. I'm gonna try to fucking catch this motherfucker." And as I'm walking down there, one of my homeboys that's with me grabs my arm. And he's like, "Stop!" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "So and so's right there." Which this dude that lived there was an older guy. He was like 21, 22. Like I said, we're like 15. He's like, "So and so's right there. I can see him. He's behind the fucking gate with his head right. You can see his head. Look at his head." And I look and I can see him. I can see a rifle barrel, and I see this guy. It reminded me of fucking Home Improvement, the neighbor. How his fucking face is showing like this. That's all you see. I can see him. I can see the fucking either a shotgun or rifle barrel. I can see it. And this dude's right around in front of that house. And I was like, oh, this motherfucker. He's trying to get us to go over there. So this dude, he has a good shot at it. I said, I didn't have no gun or anything on me. So I said, fuck that. I'm not going to get shot. So we walk past his homeboy still laying in the street, walk past him. We get down to back to my street again. I look down and I can see them. His homeboy on the bike pulled up next to him. He's trying to get him up, trying to get him to walk to their homeboy's house. But he's all fucked up. He didn't die. He got fucked up pretty bad. But the whole thing about the story was that he wasn't the only one like that. A lot of the kids that I grew up with, one day were hanging out at the mall, at the movies, Magic Mountain, at the pier, having ice cream together. That's one summer. The following summer, we're all trying to fucking kill each other. And we're all little kids, 13 years old, 14 years old. Because it wasn't just me that was like that. There was a lot of the kids that were from Redondo that I grew up with that were like family to me. They were like cousins. We grew up together. I knew them my whole life. But we became enemies. One summer we're like family. And even some of my own family. Some of my own family took it serious. Just as serious as I did. Some of my own cousins threatened to kill me when they said, "We see you, we're gonna kill you." We took that shit serious, They said, "What do you mean, my cousins?" Some of them, they stayed in my house. They slept in the same room with me. We played in the backyard together. The next summer is not like that no more. They're threatening my life, threatening to kill me, so I'm threatening their life. Me and my father don't talk no more. Some family members didn't take it that way. Some family members, they were like, "Hey, you do what you do. We're family." But other ones that were really with it, someone would have killed me if they could. It was just crazy how things had changed from one summer to the next. All my friends, they all turned to different gangs and shit. Some were with my neighborhood, some with the enemy's neighborhood. But like I said, we were young kids, 14 years old, 13 years old, and we were trying to kill each other. And I don't know, it's just even like my brother was from my enemy's neighborhood too. But that wasn't the case with me and my brother. You know, um, there was never no animosity between me and my brother. He's 4 years younger than me. But like with my brother, I didn't take that shit serious. As far as you're my enemy now. But there was, you know, a cousin or two that threatened me. So I was like, okay, well, it's on. If I see you, then it's the same thing for you. That you're saying to me is the same thing for you. Again, we grew up together, but we took this shit serious. And it's crazy to think about it now because most of them are fucking gone. Most of them are dead. A couple of them are in prison, but most of them are dead. Um, do I regret that shit? No, not really. The only thing that I regret was the whole incident with that one kid uh, that I beat up like that. Now, now I think like fuck. That was fucked up for me to do. Because he, like I said, he was a really good friend of mine. You know what I mean? We hung out a lot together as kids, and things just changed. You know what I mean? And I was trying to prove a point. I was trying to prove a point because I didn't want my father's reputation. My father had a good reputation, but I had to have a reputation because of my father, or because that's his son. And I didn't want that because my uncle from Pedro, oh, that's his nephew, or my other uncles and cousins. I didn't want a name for myself because of them, because I'm related to them. So I was out there doing as much as I possibly could to gain my own reputation. You know, um, and I did. It. I think it was more of a. I don't know. I think people just looked at me more of like he's just an asshole. You know what I mean? Because I know there was fear there, but I would just do asshole shit too. Like I said, I would do things to my own friends. I would beat up my own friends, even from my own neighborhood. You know, if they angered me, uh, even when I came home, I always felt I had to prove a point. When I came home, gathered some homies at the park that I didn't know they were new since I had been gone. Stuck a gun in one of their mouths in front of everybody. Just wanted to prove a point. You know, uh, just asshole moves, doing stupid shit. But like I said, the only thing I regret, mainly is that the beat of that one kid because he didn't deserve that shit. Even though yeah, he was from my enemy's neighborhood, it really didn't matter. He was still my friend. Um, so yeah, that one that I regret doing that to him. Yeah, it's just fun. It's weird that the dude that stopped me from doing that within a year or so he was killed. Um, but yeah, that's the regret that I have. It's one of the regrets that I have, if any. I have a couple, but not too many. But that's one of them. Like I know his name. You know what I mean? But I won't never say his name. Because I wouldn't want to put that out there like that. Uh, but that I should have never did that. But anyways, um, yeah, that's how things changed so quick for me from a normal life, from playing football and baseball with kids to the following summer, we're all trying to fucking kill each other. And when I say that, I don't mean like oh, we're just trying to kick each other's asses. No, we're real uh, young kids out there shooting at each other, and it was. I don't know if you ever seen that Fox 11 news thing that came out in the '90s about them two kids from Tortilla Flats from Compton, Chucky and Midget, and they're like 12 years old and 13 years old, and they had them in the back of a car, and they're interviewing them, and they're saying, "What is it like to do, to be shooting at people and shit?" And they were like, "It's fun, it's like a game." And it is exactly the way they said. That's exactly how it was when I was 13 years old. It was exciting. You go shoot at some fucking adults right now. Go outside. And I'm not saying for you to do it, but I'm just saying if I was to go outside and there was a dude fucking walking down the street and I just started popping off at him, he's gonna shit himself. He's gonna run. He's gonna be scared. But it wasn't like that for us. It was funny. We duck and it was duck and hide and get away and laugh about it. Then go out and do it to them. And it was the same thing for them. It was a game that we were playing. We didn't know how serious it really was. You know, it was just a game. It to me it was fun. I liked doing it. The violence was fun, but that's how fucked up my mind was. And there was other kids that were like me from other neighborhoods. That's how fucked up their minds were. This was all like just games to us. It was fun to do these kind of things, to hurt other people, to shoot at other people. So yeah, just we all changed within the summer. We were all young and fucking stupid, and it got worse as time went by. The more we got away with shit, the worse we became. And that's how I ended up catching time later on, because I was getting worse and worse and worse. Every time I got away with something, I wanted to see how much further I can go. And I'll go a little bit further, take another step forward, until you get to the ultimate acts of violence against other people. When you get away with so much shit, then just you feel like you'll never get caught. And you feel like invincible, but eventually you get caught. I did. Good thing for me, I only got caught for the thing I did get caught for. I didn't get caught for all the other stuff. Um, that's why I'm grateful for that. But anyway, yeah, that's the story of how from one summer we're friends to the next summer we hate each other, and we were just little kids. So, anyways, like I said before, thank you for watching the videos. Like and subscribe. Turn on the notifications so you get the notifications when I do the videos. I'm trying to do one every day. Sometimes I just don't feel up to it, but I'm trying to do one every day. I got a list of stuff I could talk about. Again, if you know any other subjects, hit me up, let me know. And if I know about it, I'll talk about it. All right. So anyways, that's it. Thank you for watching.